Alhamdulillah, wa salat, wa salam ala wa rasulullah. First of all, I'd like to apologize for having to cancel the classes. Just so you guys know, all the information that I am giving you about what happened in this period of history for us, I'm taking it directly from the authentic hadith books. And it takes time for me to prepare this for you because I have to make sure my research is accurate. I have to make sure that everything that I'm putting here I can back up with evidence if anyone tries to challenge me. And what happened is the past couple of days I had to, my PowerPoints, I taught this class before, but I ended it. I didn't finish it because the students were too confused. And I think at the time that I taught this class before, people weren't ready for this information. They were beginning to think badly of different companions, so I stopped it. So I never took this series any further than what I took you guys to last week. So I had to prepare from this to you is new. I have to prepare the PowerPoint, gather the research and all that before, and it took me a couple of days to get to this because I had to go through my books and all that, plus I had to work, plus I had doctor's appointments. I just didn't have the time. So today I'm off from work, and I'm off from work the next couple of days, so I was able to spend the time gathering the information and putting everything together so that I would have everything correct. So that's why I had to cancel the classes. But inshallah, I'm going to try to take this all the way through to what happened between Ali and Muawiyah, because I think for those of you who are participating, which is only really 4 students, there's only really 4 students who are really participating. That's Sarah, Brother Muhammad, Sister Mayliun, and Sister Layli. You know, you 4 are really the only ones. Or Sister AY too. Sister AY is participating in this as well. But you know, you 5, I would say, are basically the only one what's been going on from the beginning up until this point. And mashallah, I believe that all 5 of you understand what's going on. You're not judging the companions. So I believe you guys are all ready for me to take it further. And that's what I'm doing. Okay, and the last time we met, we talked about how Ali had been basically betrayed by his men. First of all, he was betrayed on the battlefield by the men from Kufa. They refused, when Muawiyah played the trick of sending his men forward with Quranic verses on their spears, Muawiyah's men refused to continue to fight. Even though, not Muawiyah, Ali's men refused to continue to fight, even though Ali told them to keep fighting, don't fall for the trick. Okay, they didn't listen to Ali. And Ali was not only their leader, but he was also the caliph. And Islam entails that whoever is the leader over the Muslim is to be obeyed. We're not even supposed to question them. We're supposed to do what the caliphate tells us to do, whether we agree with it, disagree, or understand it not. But these men were the men who were guilty of rebelling against Uthman. These men, the men from Kufa, were the men who played a role in the murder of Uthman. And remember, the Prophet ﷺ foretold that this would happen. He warned against what would happen, the people of Iraq. He said all the fitna that will befall this nation will come from out of Iraq and Syria. Well, the men of Kufa, these were the men of Iraq, and already this prophecy was coming to be. So Ali never trusted these men anyway, because they were the rebels who rebelled against Uthman. And they really had the upper hand over him. He just could not get no support from the other companions. He wanted Muawiyah, Aisha, Talha, Zubair, and the others to support him, but they couldn't see through this. They couldn't see what was going on. They couldn't see that the rebels had the upper hand. So anyway, the men from Kufa betrayed him and refused to listen to him. They fell for the trick that Muawiyah put on the battlefield, and they stopped fighting. And what happened was, once they stopped fighting, they went and met with Muawiyah. And because Muawiyah didn't want to fight either, by the way. He was blinded by his anger to try to get revenge for what happened to Uthman. So anyway, the men appointed their own messenger to go and meet with Muawiyah to try to settle this disagreement. They didn't even consult with Ali. They agreed to Muawiyah's peace terms. They elected their own representative without even consulting with Ali. They agreed to what Muawiyah wanted without even confronting Ali. So they betrayed Ali again. So Ali had no choice but to go along with whatever this peace treaty agreement was, because his men weren't listening to him anyway. They wouldn't even allow Ali to elect his own umpire to represent his side. His men elected their own. That's how rebellious these men were. Okay? So they ended up going into an agreement with Muawiyah. Abu Musa Ash'ari was elected by the men representing Ali to speak on behalf of them, even though Ali did not want it to be Abu Musa Ash'ari, because he knew that Abu Musa Ash'ari, even though he was an eminent companion, he had some personal vendettas with Ali. Ali wanted Abdullah ibn Abbas to represent him, but they wouldn't allow that. And Muawiyah had as his umpire to represent his side Amir ibn al-As, who was also an eminent companion, who also had personal vendetta with Ali, because Ali removed him as governor over Egypt. To represent both sides. They were supposed to meet together, and they had 6 months to come up with their decision. And what were they deciding? They were deciding, number one, who should be the leader over the Muslims. Should it be Ali or should it be Muawiyah? And then after that, what should be done about vengeance for the murder of Uthman? Those were the two things they were supposed to decide. And this is where we left off. Let's put the PowerPoint up. What happened? Well, in pursuance of the agreement executed between the representative for Ali's men and the representative of Muawiyah's men, the two umpires, Abu Musa Ash'ari representing Ali's side and Amir ibn al-As representing Muawiyah's side, they met at Dumatul Jandil, which is a town halfway between Kufa and Damascus, halfway between Iraq and Syria. And they met in January in the year 658. Each side sent 400 people to witness the proceedings. The men, the group from Kufa, which was the side supposedly representing Ali, was led by Abdullah ibn Abbas and Shurayh ibn Mani. Now, these were two men that Ali approved of. In fact, remember, Ali wanted Abdullah ibn Abbas to be the umpire, but they wouldn't allow that. The men wouldn't agree to that. And Shurayh ibn Mani was another eminent companion of the Prophet, who everyone had respect for. He was another eminent companion. Again, most of these people were eminent companions. The Prophet Muhammad had well over 300 eminent companions, I think, that were present during his time. Okay? So each side sent 400 people to witness the proceedings. Ali's group was had Abdullah ibn Abbas and Mani, and also they invited more notable companions from Mecca, Medina to attend too. Okay? But most did not respond. Now, a lot of people ask, what about Abdullah, the son of Umar? Abdullah ibn Umar, many hadiths he narrated. He did not respond. He refused to come. Also, Abdullah ibn Zubair, he was another one that they invited. He wanted no parts in this as well. Also, Mughira ibn Shuba, another eminent companion. He didn't want no parts in this. Neither did Abdul Rahman ibn Harith. You know, and again, the reason why many of these companions refused to be involved was because of the hadith. They remember the hadith where the prophet said the fitna will occur. The Muslims, his men will divide and separate into two different groups, fighting against each other. And the prophet said, when you live to see this happen, do not get involved. So the companions, especially these who remember the hadith, Abu Hurairah, Ibn Umar, and all of these people, they refused to get involved in this. They just said, I'm not going to take sides in this craziness. But they were still invited. Okay? Witness what happened. What happened at the proceeding? Well, Amir ibn al-As and Abu Musa Ash'ari met in front of the people. Amir ibn al-As began the proceedings by asking Abu Musa Ash'ari. He said, I want to ask you, do you think Uthman was innocent of the charges that the people have brought against him? And do you view his murder to be a crime? In other words, this was, remember, Amir ibn al-As was representing Muawiyah and Muawiyah's men. So he wanted to know. He said, do you think that Uthman was guilty or innocent of the charges that the rebels have brought against him? And do you view his murder to be a crime, or do you view it to be something else? Abu Musa answered. He said, Uthman was innocent. He said, I believe he was innocent of all the allegations the rebels made against him. And yes, I agree. The execution of Uthman, the murder of Uthman, was totally wrong. So the two men agreed on that. The two sides agreed on that. Okay. So then Amir ibn al-As asked, Abu Musa, he asked him whether in the circumstances did he believe that the claim of Muawiyah for qisas was justified. He said, well, since you agree that Uthman in wanting qisas, or wanting an eye for an eye for what these people did to Uthman, in fact, do you believe that the Quran allows such a claim to be made? Okay. He also went on to say, I also want to know, Abu Musa. He said, do you object to Ali being the leader of the Muslims? He said, because I do. He let Abu Musa know that not only do we, the representatives of Muawiyah, claim that Uthman was murdered unjustly and that Uthman should be avenged, but also he said we object to Ali being the caliph. Why? Because we believed he was involved in Uthman's murder either directly or indirectly. He said, what do you think about that? Abu Musa responded by saying that the accusation against Ali, and this is very important, guys. Abu Musa, even though he had a personal vendetta with Ali, he said this accusation is not true. He said there is no proof that Ali was involved in the murder of Uthman. In fact, Ali sent his 2 sons to defend Uthman. He said, so no, I don't agree with that. I don't agree that Ali was involved directly or indirectly in that. And that's when Amir ibn al-As said, well, if he was not involved, why is it that Ali refuses to hand over the murderers of Uthman so we can seek qisas? That's the whole point of Muawiyah. Muawiyah's point is, well, since you were not directly involved, you must have been involved indirectly. Because why are you refusing to hand over the murderers, the men responsible for rebelling against Uthman and murdering him? He said the fact that Ali won't do this means he's involved indirectly. So y'all see that. That was the whole position of Muawiyah. And Amir ibn al-As brought it before Musa, Abu Musa Ash'ari, who was representing Ali's side, to see how Abu Musa Ash'ari would respond to that. Abu Musa, his response was, okay, again, I agree that what they did to Uthman was wrong. I agree that Uthman was innocent of the allegations the rebels made, but I disagree with you in the involvement of Ali. Ali had nothing to do with Uthman's murder. He said, and as far as you're saying that he's involved indirectly because he refuses to turn over the men, he said, I think the proper thing is this. Muawiyah owes his allegiance to Ali because Ali is the leader over the Muslims. Okay? He said, regardless, I mean, he cannot prove that Ali was guilty of playing a role in Uthman's murder. Ali did not play a role in that. As far as his claim that he's indirectly involved because he won't hand over the murderers, he said Muawiyah needs to give Ali his allegiance, and then we can deal with the handing over of the murderers. Amir ibn al-As disagreed with this. He disagreed. He said, how can Muawiyah give his allegiance to Ali when Ali is not going to give the qisas to Uthman's family that is needed? Amir ibn al-As then suggested that Ali should be removed as the caliph. And you guys see that? So here it was. Here it was. They wanted Ali to step down and give the reins of the leadership to Muawiyah. All because Ali would not turn over the men responsible for rebelling against Uthman. And why was it that Ali could not do this, guys? He could not do this because the men responsible were the men from Kufa. And there were hundreds of thousands of them. And they were in control. They were the ones who forced Ali into this position anyway. They could slice Ali's throat at any moment. But no one was seeing that. No one would acknowledge that. So what Abu Musa came up with was this. He said, there is no way that you guys could think that Muawiyah has a claim to leadership over Ali. He said, first of all, Ali is one of the first people to convert to Islam. Also, he is closely related to the Prophet. Also, Ali is the most knowledgeable man of our age. And he reminded he reminded Amir ibn al-As. Remember how the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said the best of this nation is Abu Bakr, followed by Umar, followed by Uthman, followed by Ali. He said, so what makes you think that Muawiyah should just knock out Ali? Muawiyah's name is not mentioned nowhere in there. He said Ali is the fourth best of this nation. He is more entitled to be the caliph than Muawiyah. So here you can see, even though Abu Musa Ash'ari had a personal vendetta against Ali, y'all see he was still a Muslim who believed in Allah, and who tried to live his life adhering to the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He told Amir ibn al-As, how can you think Ali is superior over Muawiyah when the Prophet Muhammad already spoke of Ali's superiority over anyone else other than Abu Bakr, Umar, and Uthman? Well, Amir ibn al-As responded by saying, well, Ali may be the best spiritually, but that doesn't mean he's better than anybody else when it comes to matters of politics and world fare. He said Ali is a better person in regards to piety and religion, but Muawiyah is known for being a great speaker, of being a charismatic person. He knows politics. He knows world affairs. So Muawiyah, based on those facts, would make a better leader than Ali. Well, again, Abu Musa spoke up. He said, he reminded Amir ibn al-As, he said, in an Islamic state, worldly affairs mean nothing. He said, in an Islamic state, religion takes precedence over worldly affairs. He said, and again, based on that reality, that Islamic injunction, Muawiyah could never, ever, ever be made leader over Ali. So again, this is where the men were in disagreement over. And Amir ibn al-As, he wasn't saying that Muawiyah was superior over Ali religiously. Again, he was trying to emphasize his superiority in regards to worldly affairs. But that's not how Islam runs. Islam does not put worldly affairs over religion. And Amir ibn al-As kept saying that he could not trust, that Ali could not be trusted. All because Ali refused to turn over the men of Kufa. Remember, Aisha took care of Basra. The three Islamic states that rebelled against Uthman was Iraq, Syria, and Egypt. Iraq, Basra, and Egypt. Okay, Aisha took care of Basra. She executed all the men responsible in Basra for rebelling. So now Muawiyah wanted to pick up where she left off and bring to justice all the men responsible in Kufa. Okay, but again, those were the men in Ali's army. Okay, so Amir ibn al-As and Abu Musa Ash'ari, they both went back and back over who should be the leader. And then finally, they agreed that in the matter of the caliphate, the obvious course would be to consider the names of people who were neutral. Since they both agreed that it couldn't be Muawiyah over Ali, then who would you agree to? Well, Abu Musa, he thought about the days of Umar, and he reminded Amir ibn al-As that we have never had it better since Umar. that our ways went down after the death of Umar, that's when everything began to fall apart for us. So we need to consider someone who would be like Umar. And that's when the name of Abdullah, the son of Umar, came up. And they did ask him if he would consider caliphate leadership. But Abdullah ibn Umar refused. Then they considered Saud ibn Abu Waqas, but he too refused. They then considered Abdullah the son of Zubair. Zubair, who had been killed during the battle of the Camel with Aisha. But they rescinded him because he participated in the battle of the Camel. They said he wouldn't be neutral. So these were the more eminent companions who were living at that time, who they were throwing out the names of for leadership over the Muslims. But all these men had the intelligence to decline because they all knew better. They refused to be involved in this fitna, and they knew better than to get involved in that. So finally, Abu Musa Ash'ari and Amir ibn al-As, they reached a state of deadlock. They could not reach a decision as to who should become the leader. So Amir ibn al-As said, if Ali is not acceptable for us and Muawiyah is not acceptable to you, then we can't reach an agreement. We need to find a way out of this. And that's when Abu Musa Ash'ari said, in my opinion, the best course would be that we remove both of them. We remove Ali and Muawiyah, and we leave it to the people to decide for themselves who they would want to replace them with. And then Amir ibn al-As agreed. So this is what they agreed upon. They agreed upon in regards to who should be leader over the Muslims. Since Muawiyah and his supporters did not want Ali because they felt that they couldn't trust him because he would refuse to make qisas immediately. And of course, the men supporting Ali did not want Muawiyah because Muawiyah is not superior over Ali. The men from Kufa were all about the Prophet Muhammad's family being in control. That was the beginning of that's what we call today the Shiite movement. Okay? So since they couldn't reach an agreement, they both agreed, we'll just leave it to the people. We'll just leave it to the people to decide who they want for themselves. And Amir ibn al-As told Abu Musa Ash'ari, you can go and make the announcement on behalf of us. So Abu Musa Ash'ari, he then went to the mosque and took the stage so he could announce a decision. But now Abdullah ibn Abbas was there, guys, as a witness. And remember, Ibn Abbas, this is Ibn Abbas. You guys know Ibn Abbas. He was the one who the Prophet made dua for, giving him knowledge, understanding of the Quran. And also Ibn Abbas was one of the eminent companions. Okay, he also memorized so many hadiths or whatnot. Ibn Abbas was not stupid. That's why he refused to be involved in this fitna. But he did pull Abu Musa to the side. He said, Abu Musa, do not make the announcement first. He said, this is what you guys came up with. Let Amir ibn al-As speak first, not you. Because Ibn Abbas knew that something was wrong. He said, I just don't trust Amir ibn al-As. He said, I just don't trust him right now. He said, so I'm telling you, don't be the one to go first with the announcement. Let him make the announcement. But of course, Abu Musa Ash'ari refused to listen to Ibn Abbas. He refused to listen. So he went to the mosque. He stood up before the people and he announced that he and Amir ibn al-As had both agreed that Ali and Muawiyah should be removed and not considered to be leaders over the Muslims, and that the people instead should vote for whoever they wanted to be the leader. And then he announced to their agreement on behalf of the men representing Ali as a chosen umpire, he announced that he is deposing Ali as Caliph. In other words, I am hereby removing Ali as the leader over the Muslims, and I have the authority and right to do this as the umpire. And then he stepped down. So now it was the turn of Amir ibn al-As. Amir ibn al-As was supposed to stand up now and announce his agreement and that he was deposing any claims to leadership over the Muslims for Muawiyah. So Amir ibn al-As stood up before the people and he announced that according to the terms of the arbitration agreement, the umpires, he and Abu Musa Shari, had, yes indeed, agreed as to who the leadership should belong to. He said, and since the umpire representing Ali has removed him, he said that means Muawiyah is the only candidate left in the field, and as such, he is now the Caliph. Wow, you guys see what happened? See why Abu Musa Shari should have listened to Ibn Abbas, but he didn't. He didn't. Here, Amir al-As took advantage of this situation. And since Abu Musa Shari had removed Ali as a Caliph, he took advantage of this and thought he could now announce Muawiyah to replace him. And so once again, Ali was betrayed. See that? You see what happened here? You see what happened here? Abu Musa Shari removed Ali, and Amir al-As, instead of saying, well, I'm going to remove the field for Muawiyah, he said, no, since he removed Ali, Muawiyah is now the Caliph. Imagine how Abu Musa Ashari felt, guys. He knew he did a bad thing. First of all, Ali didn't even appoint him. Do you guys see why Ali did, even though Abu Musa Ashari called himself being honest and just in representing Ali's case? And he did speak up and tell Amir al-As, Ali had no role to play in the murder of Uthman. He loved Uthman as much as anyone. But you see, Abu Musa Ashari was not a political man. He was more of a religious man. He was one of those companions who was religious, more into the religion than politics. Whereas remember, Muawiyah was always a politician. Muawiyah was the son of Abu Sufyan. He embraced Islam after the conquest of Mecca. He was a politician before Islam and remained one. Okay, after Islam, a good one of the best. That was his gift. Okay. Well, Abu Musa dibbled and dabbled in politics, and you see he got screwed as a result. Abu Musa Ashari was so upset and felt so bad, he slipped away to Mecca. He left the proceedings when he realized that Amir al-As did not keep the agreement, and Amir al-As had claimed Muawiyah to be the leader over the Muslims. Abu Musa Ashari left and went back to Mecca because he realized when it was too late what a bad thing he had done by not even listening to him. So he wrote a letter of apology to Ali, apologizing for what had happened and demanding that Ali accept the fact that he had no idea that Amir El-As would do this. This is the letter that Ali wrote back to him in response. Ali wrote him a letter back saying, "Verily, many people will be deprived of their rewards in the hereafter. They fell an easy prey to the temptations of this world." He said, "I am in a strange situation in regards to the problem of being the caliph." He said, "A hard-headed man is at loggerheads against me," meaning Muawiyah. He said, "Surely there is no one more anxious than me to uphold the solidarity of the Muslim nation, because I strongly hope that Allah will reward me for these selfless services of mine in the cause of trying to unite the Muslims." He said, "Abu Musa, you turned against the right path. You turned against the person who was in the right," meaning himself. "And you left me alone. You deserted me." The same way everyone did. Everyone turned against Ali. No one, Aisha, Talha, Zubair, Muawiyah himself, no one was looking at the situation from Ali's perspective. He said, "Abu Musa, you turned against me. You left me alone." He said, "There is no one more unfortunate than you, because you were deprived of your intelligence, and you acted, and you were deprived of acting in the right way." So, Ali let him know, you brought this on yourself, Abu Musa. You should have stood by me from the beginning. You should have done what the Prophet Muhammad said, stick to the leader of the Muslims, even if he have the head of a raisin. Even if he's a black man with the head of the raisin, obey your leader, stick with him. That was a hadith the Prophet had warned him of. He said, "You deserted me. You left me in the hands of these rebels. And look what the rebels have done. They've played you. They've played Amir ibn al-As. They've played us all. They've turned us all against each other. And look at the Muslim state now. So imagine how Ali felt, guys. This entire arbitration proceeding turned out to be a farce of betrayal and trickery. And it put Ali in a bad position, because even though they wanted Ali to step down, he was not going to step down. Because being the caliph, this is a responsibility, and you only answer to Allah for it, not the people. And Ali was not going to step down as the caliph. He was not going to leave that office to the hands of anyone, because this was a trust between he and Allah. And this is why, guys, we have those hadiths. For example, the hadith about the sighting of the moon when Ramadan begins and ends. Okay? The Muslim world was split in half. Half the Muslim world acknowledged Ali to be the leader over the Muslims. The other half was acknowledging Muawiyah. Then you had eminent companions like Ibn Abbas, Ibn Masud, and others who chose to not get involved. For those of you who don't know, when this was happening, Ibn Abbas was the governor over Medina at that time. After Abu Musa Shari had removed Ali, and Amir El-As had now appointed Muawiyah as caliph, the people went back to home, to Mecca, Medina. Ibn Abbas said, "I am not going to acknowledge Muawiyah," because again, Ibn Abbas was one of the companions that knew Muawiyah could never be given precedence over Ali. So that's why when Ramadan began that year, Muawiyah sent a letter to the Muslims in Medina and Mecca saying that the moon had been seen in Syria. because he was the caliph of Syria now, and Egypt, and the places that's Egypt and Syria, I think, acknowledged him as the caliph, whereas Basra and Kufa acknowledged Ali. When Muawiyah sent the letter back to Medina to the governor, Ibn Abbas, telling him that he had seen the moon and Ramadan, to let the people know that Ramadan has begun. That is why Ibn Abbas made ijtima. He made the decision. He said, I am not going to listen to Muawiyah. Even though the Prophet Muhammad said, whenever the moon is sighted anywhere in the world, that person has seen it for the whole nation. He said, I am not going to acknowledge that, because if I say that I acknowledge Muawiyah sending this letter, the people will misinterpret it as me saying that I acknowledge Muawiyah as the caliph over Ali. And that is not true. He said, so I am going to use my own judgment as a companion, as a knowledgeable man, as a person who knows the Quran and the Hadith. I am going to use my own judgment. And this year, he said, this year, we, the people of Medina, will look for our own local sighting. Because I know that if I say that I am going to acknowledge this letter from Muawiyah, the people are going to misinterpret it as me acknowledging him as the caliph, and being that I am who I am, Ibn Abbas, they're going to say, well, if Ibn Abbas supports him, the rest of the world should. I'm not getting involved in that. So that's why that one time, and that was only that one time, that Ibn Abbas went with the local sighting. That does not mean that as Muslims, we can use a local sighting for Ramadan. No, we're supposed to take the word from any reliable, trustworthy Muslim in the world. If they've seen the moon, they've seen it for all of us. But as Ibn Abbas said, Muawiyah has dirty hands here. Muawiyah is very smart, very intelligent. He's a political man. He has charisma. He knows how to play the people. This is what he's good at. He said his hands are dirty. He knows that if I acknowledge his sighting, that it's telling the world that I acknowledge him. So I am not going to acknowledge him based on what our prophet said. If the person is unreliable, if the person is not trustworthy, then we don't have to accept his sighting. He says, so I refuse to accept Muawiyah's sighting of the moon, and I will look for a local one. That's where that hadith came from. This is why we have to be careful, guys, as Muslims, calling ourselves scholars, calling ourselves muftis, calling ourselves people of knowledge. As the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, you will never understand the Quran. You will never understand this religion until you understand my example, the things I've said and the things I've done. The scholars of hadith are not that many living today. People memorize the Quran every day, but it doesn't go past their throats because they don't understand anything that they're reading, because they don't know the hadiths. That you have to know the history of the hadith. Any Muslim telling you that they're going to look for a local sighting and there's no reason because you're saying that the rest of the world is untrustworthy, you are a liar. This is wrong. If one person has seen the moon in any part of the world and that person is reliable and trustworthy, we accept his sighting. In this case, they could not accept the sighting of Muawiyah. Today, we accept Iraq. We accept anywhere, that's reliable. But if there's some trickery involved or deceit, then we don't. So those Muslims living on earth today in the year 2018 telling you that they have a right to look for a local sighting, shame on you. Go learn your deen. That is not what the Prophet said. That was ijtihad. That was wisdom that Ibn Abbas used back in that time in 786, I think it was, because of what was going on with the caliphate. And he was justified in doing that. But that was not to be precedent setting for the rest of us for the rest of times. Okay. So anyway, that's what happened, guys. This whole arbitration proceeding turned out to be a farce based on betrayal and trickery. It put Ali in a bad position. Ali, being the good Muslim he was, he knew that nobody can remove him from that office. Only Allah can remove him as Caliph. And Ali refused to step down. But he also knew he didn't have time to waste. So what did Ali do? He knew that the only option left for him at this time was to renew the war against Muawiyah. Because Muawiyah was doing what he was really good at, manipulating his power. So after this so-called arbitration proceeding was completed, Ali gave the call for jihad. He told his people to gather together, to pick up their arms so we can go out and fight against Muawiyah. I mean, not Muawiyah at this point. So we could go out and fight to vindicate the truth. And the people who supported Ali responded to the call, and soon he had an army of 65,000 men gathered. Because he knew it was over. But who was he fighting against? Muawiyah wasn't going to fight. Ali was not going to fight against Muawiyah. He had to fight against the men who betrayed him. Remember, Ali had been betrayed. He had been betrayed by his army. And who were his army? His army were the men from Kufa. And by the way, guys, these are the people who came to be known in history as the Kharijites. When you hear people talking about the Kharijites, they're talking about this, the men who betrayed. These were the men responsible for killing Uthman. And they were also the men responsible for betraying and killing Ali. So Ali knew that he could not face Muawiyah until he first cleaned house with the men he had. These men had betrayed him. They had the upper hand over him. His hands were tied as the caliph because of these men. And since he couldn't get Muawiyah to help him, if he couldn't get the people, the eminent companions to support him, he knew he had to take matters into his own hands. So Ali decided, let me fight against these rebels who have their chains over me. So Ali gathered his army of there were 65,000 men who supported him, who had allegiance to him. He gathered his men together and they went to Nahrawan, which is a town outside of Kufa, so he could deal with these men who had their chains around him. And when he reached Nahrawan, he put his flag in the ground and he said, whoever comes forward under this flag will have amnesty and I will not fight them. Again, he did not want to kill other Muslims unless he had no choice but to. He also sent a messenger to announce to the people that he wanted them to turn over all the men who were responsible for killing Abdullah ibn Khabbab. Abdullah ibn Khabbab was another eminent companion, okay, who had tried to bring peace, but these men rebelled against him and killed him too. He said, I want you guys to turn over to me the men responsible for killing Abdullah ibn Khabbab, and he also gave a list of other eminent companions who they had killed too, who fought on his side. Of course, the men refused to surrender anyone. And in fact, they sent back a message telling Ali that it would be a great honor for them to kill him too. Hello. They killed Uthman, so we'll kill you too. So Ali gathered his army and he launched his attack against these men who have now become known in history as the Kharijites or the Kharijites. Okay? The Kharijites numbered 4,000. Ali's troops numbered 50,000. They fought desperately and frantically, but Ali's troop outnumbered theirs. Out of 4,000 Qurayshites, only 2 or 3 dozen escaped. Ali and his men killed all the rest. So here you can see, Ali was cleaning house like Aisha did. Aisha cleaned house with the Basrites. Well, now Ali cleaned house with the men of Kufa, who had betrayed some of the men, and not all of them, some of the men of Kufa who had betrayed him. He killed all of them except for 2 or 3 dozen. So Ali won this victory, but this victory was shallow. Why? Because all this victory did was prevent him, divert him from the main goal of fighting against Muawiyah. Because while Ali had to clean his own house, Muawiyah heard what had happened. And this gave Muawiyah time to get his army together to wage war against Ali. In fact, after Ali had cleaned house at Narwan, he wanted to go directly to Syria so he could deal with Muawiyah. But again, these people were not trustworthy. These men were not trustworthy. They wanted to go back to Kufa and get some rest. So to satisfy the men, Ali agreed to allow them to go back to Kufa and spend 3 days there with their wives getting rest or whatever. But guess what? These men betrayed Ali again. Betrayed him again. After 3 days had passed, Ali told the men, let's gather together. Let's get it together now so we can go to Syria and deal with Muawiyah. They refused. Ali reproached them for their disobedience. He even accused them of doing the same thing that the other men did, betraying them. But still, the men didn't listen. Remember, the prophet said, don't trust the people of Iraq. They refused to go to Syria. So here Ali had been betrayed by these men more than once. They betrayed him at Siffin. They betrayed him at Kufa. And now they're betraying him by not wanting to go to Syria. And all of this led to the advantage of Muawiyah. When Muawiyah heard that once again Ali was being betrayed by these rebellious people, Muawiyah decided to take his army to Egypt. Because who were the 3 groups that played a role in murdering Uthman? The people of Kufa, the people of Basra, and also the Egyptians. So Muawiyah decided he would take his army to Egypt so he could deal with the rebels there and also win control of North Africa, put the caliphate of himself over North Africa. Because remember, the Muslim world was split in half. Split in half. Half the world was supporting Ali as caliph, the other as Muawiyah. So Muawiyah, being the politician he is, he said, I'm going to go to Egypt and serve 2 purposes. Number 1, I'm going to bring to justice all the men in Egypt who played a role in murdering Uthman. And then I'm going to make Egypt my caliph, my land. I'll make them supporters of me. So here you can see our beloved Ali was in a terrible situation. Ever since he was forced to be caliph, he was betrayed over and over and over again by his men. And this is what he wanted Muawiyah and them to see. He wanted the same thing that they wanted. He wanted these people to pay for what they did to Uthman too. He loved Uthman more than they did. Uthman was his cousin. But he couldn't get them to understand that his hands were tied. They got chains over me. So since Muawiyah couldn't see it, let me fight him myself. And he did. He took away, he fought half of them. But now the other half that were with him turned against him again. Once again, they got chains around Ali. And he had no support from the other companions. Half the companions were not getting involved. The other half were on the other side with Muawiyah, being ruled by their anger instead of their intelligence. Like he told Abu Musa Ash'ari, Abu Musa Ash'ari, you lost your wisdom. You couldn't see what these men were doing. Their whole thing was to divide us. We're the eminent companions. They want to separate us, divide us. You couldn't see through the farce. And now they played you for a fool. Like they played Aisha for a fool. Like they played poor Abu Talha and Zubair. May Allah rest their souls. And he's playing Muawiyah. They're playing Muawiyah's my cousin too. They're playing him too. Abu Musa Ash'ari, you fell for it. Why is it that y'all all are falling for it? No one is here to help me. They're all betraying me. You guys are betraying me, giving these rebels more power and authority over us all. So this is where we're at right now. And that map there shows you the Muslim world at that time. Okay? Muawiyah was at that where Khorasan is. These were the people supporting Muawiyah. Okay? That Syria part. Maghreb, that was the North African part. Okay, Saudi Arabia, the Muslims in Saudi were staying out of it. That's the Mecca and Medina. Most of them were staying out of the fitna. They weren't supporting anything. That's why Ibn Abbas said, I'm not going with no local sighting or no, I'm going to go with the local sighting of the moon and not Muawiyah. So we'll stop right here for today. Tomorrow, I'm going to give you a quiz over what we talked about today. Then we're going to pick up what happened. So Ali's men had rebelled against him. They refused to return to Syria. Muawiyah heard about the rebellion and said, well, let me get the upper hand and go take Egypt. What happened? Did Muawiyah and Ali meet? We'll pick up the next time we meet. So we'll stop right here. If you guys have any questions or comments.